Oh, we're ready. Iggy's saying yes. Iggy, there's a green light. So that means we're all happy and ready to go. So welcome to Wholehearted Living with Benny.
Valerie. Oh, Valerie.
And Benny. Yes. So,
It's us. And Iggy.
And Iggy. And Iggy's laughing. And it would be far better if he'd laugh out loud into the microphone. But instead, he does a silent laugh.
And turns his head.
Where the only person that knows he's laughing is God and us. So...
Sound guy problems.
Sound guy problems. So thank you, Iggy, for being here, always doing the sound. I appreciate it.
Yes.
All right. Well, you have a fun anecdote because I saw it on Instagram. So tell us about what in the world happened.
A day in the life of our house. So,
Yeah.
Peter.
I guess it's not that fun.
Okay, you guys, listen to this story. Like, seriously. Around 3:30 in the morning, Peter wakes up and I see him looking out of our bedroom window, and then I hear him walking through the house, and then he finally comes back to bed. I'm like, what are you doing? And he said, I thought I heard something, but I guess not. It must have been in my dream. I don't see anything or whatever. The doors are locked. Okay. Well, at that point, I just got up. I couldn't fall back to sleep. So I go out in the living room, I get my coffee, and I'm just chilling and didn't think anything of it. Peter gets up, we get ready, we go to the gym. So we get to the gym at 6. Kylie calls about 5 to 7 and she's like, are you guys on your way home? I'm like, not yet. Well, you should come home. There's a cop here and there's a car in our backyard. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I looked at Peter right away and said, you did hear something. And
Are you telling me that car was in your backyard and you guys didn't even know?
Yes, since 3:30 in the morning.
How did you not?
I don't understand how you didn't know.
Well, we didn't know because...
And what yeah, you have to explain.
We didn't know because our house is like an L shape. We live on a corner. And it was over there, like, I know nobody listening knows this, but where we would play cornhole. So that's where the car was.
So I will explain. So the front. No, I'm serious. I'm going to explain. So the front of the house is actually where the bedrooms is, like toward the one side of the street.
Yes.
Which is where you guys would have been sleeping, and the whole opposite side of the house is on the other side of the garage. Even
yes,
that's
so you
where the
can't
car
even
was.
see it like from if you're even in the kitchen looking out the window.
No, but what I don't get is wasn't somebody in that car, and didn't they get out and say, "Hey, I just drove through your yard"?
Okay, so here's what happened. You're wondering why is the car there and no one's there to say,
"Yes, thank
I need my car back." So what happened is when Kylie called. So anyway, we came home. And I'm walking up and I see a couple cops and I see a man standing there. And I thought it was maybe a looky-loo man, like just like, what happened, you know? No, he was our neighbor from the other side. And he got up to go to work at 6:30 in the morning or went out to get in his car at 6:30 in the morning and his car was gone. So he goes back into his house to report his car stolen. And he's in his house
in your garage, in your
looking
yard.
out his window, he said, oh, my fence is down and my car is in the neighbor's yard.
So somebody hit his car.
No, somebody stole his car. And as they left his driveway, it was super foggy that day. And I feel like they must have spun out because of the wetness on the ground because they probably gassed it to leave, right? And they did a spin out because you could see the tire marks and made basically a U-turn and came back into our fence and gate and backyard.
Those dudes are buzzing because
Right?
all you have to do is stop pushing the gas. I
don't
mean,
even
this
know.
isn't brain surgery.
I don't even know.
Or they're 12-year-olds.
I just am glad they didn't hit the house.
Yeah.
Or-
Did they? So obviously everybody was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know.
I don't
about
know
the people
about the
'cause
guy
they
that
bolted.
left. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the girl, whoever. I don't know who stole it. But
Yeah, and no video because where that's at, there's no video, is
There's
there?
no video.
That's really.
But even
crazy.
if there was, you think about it, 3:30 in the morning, it's
And
pitch black,
foggy, yeah.
fog. He probably got out and took off. And
Right.
he kept saying, Peter kept saying, oh, I wish I would have looked out that side, you know, because then he would have seen it. And I'm like, and then what? Like, who the heck? You don't even know who you would have interacted with. This guy stole a car and then slammed it through a fence. Like, who knows what he would have been on, or if he had
That
any
is a
kind
curious thing because I'm guessing that what would have happened is you would have seen him freaked out and he would have bolted and that would have been that. So probably the only difference would have been 4 hours. So
Yeah.
probably.
But
that
I don't
is-
even
that's
know.
crazy.
Is that just crazy? So when
Yeah,
we,
you know what
we,
it reminds me of is when we were growing up. Do you remember growing up?
I do remember growing up.
Even though for you it was a lot longer than me. Do you remember us being having sleeping in the living room, which was like a treat?
Yes.
and somebody running into the car.
Yeah.
A car. Somebody
their
running
house.
into the tree
Yeah.
in front of our folks' house.
Yeah.
And then they swung into nearly the yard. And then what was so funny is our 250-pound dad, comes running into the room and making sure that we're okay as he's stepping on us to find out if we're okay,
Yeah.
and going to the window and banging on the window and looking at it and freaking out. And my
Yeah.
gosh. And I don't know how many times that tree got hit until they finally tore it down.
Yeah, there was no. I think there's a tree there now, though. A small one, or
It's
no?
a small
Yeah.
one. Like the one that was there could stop a car.
It was a huge.
Yeah,
Well, it did.
It did. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then later, now I think they're all like
Little,
portable
yeah.
trees, or
Yeah.
not portable. What's the word? I don't know what they
Cute.
are. Cute. Little trees. Yeah. Anywho, let me tell you about my day and week. Can I?
Yeah. Wait, I also didn't finish though, because
Oh.
that was the end of that story. But then Peter's birthday was Wednesday,
Oh.
so we celebrated his birthday, and then our dog is not happy. So that was my week. It was a weird week.
Oh.
She's literally on her last leg. Like,
So
It's
that's a
sad.
really hard decision, is deciding
It's a
when it's time
hugely
to
hard
say, okay,
decision.
am I keeping her alive for me, or am I keeping her alive for
exactly.
her?
And that's exactly how I feel right now. Because
Yeah.
I was like, she's not eating her food. I'm going to start making her like homemade food. And then she's eating it. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's eating it. Oh my gosh, she's good. She's good. She's good. And then she stops eating it. And then I made her more homemade food, something else. And she took a couple bites and then walked away. So I'm like, it's time.
I'm sorry. That's really
Yeah.
hard. I just was on Facebook or one of those things, and a friend of mine had to put her doggy down. And I'm looking at my dog as he runs around, and he's
I
so
know.
stupid.
I
So he
I just wish I would wake up and she would be.
because he runs on the couch, and he'll run up on the couch, and like nowadays half of the time he like runs up and he like boing.
Well, see, that's
He
the
doesn't
thing.
make
Like,
it.
it's really sad because Buttercup used to jump on the couch and get on my lap. And now she just stares at me like, are you going to pick me up? Like, she can't even go up the steps anymore to get onto our bed. She just goes on the one step and then she just stares. And then she tries and then she goes back down. And then she tries. So you have to pick her up to put her on our bed or pick her
Well,
up
this
to put her
is-
on the couch. I
yeah.
know.
Well, not only that. Well, this is very depressing. Get
know,
a new
let's move on.
dog.
Do
So
you
we
have
have
a-
something else to talk about. Yeah, I have a really good story.
Oh, good.
It's about me having a really struggle with my internship.
Oh.
So, no, I'm going to make a long
Hence
story
the
short.
numbing?
No, yes, exactly. It's so funny because I literally said, for those of you that are reading along, we're in Guidepost 3. By the way, we never said what we do. This is a podcast where we're really committed to trying to help you folks and us live wholeheartedly.
Yes.
And so we're reading right now a book called The Gifts of Imperfection, right? By
Yes.
Brene Brown. We're on guidepost number 3. In the past few weeks, we've been talking about guilt and shame and different things. And one of the things that she talks about in here, but let me backtrack.
Yeah.
So I can get to my point is, so I am getting my master's in family therapy. And I'm at the point now where I do internship, and internship basically means you're actually providing therapy for clients, and you have to find that place yourself,
Right.
and then they are required to. I mean, they agree to certain requirements, and I have to have 40 direct contact hours with clients this particular 10-week period. And I already had one set up. I already had it approved by the university. Everything was all done. Yay. And then 2 days beforehand, I think I mentioned this last week or 2 weeks ago that they, the people, like literally 2 days before I'm supposed to start, said, oh, you didn't fill out this paperwork. It's going to take
And
3
it's
weeks.
gonna take
several weeks to do that. So I was in the process of already finding another one, concerned about this one. And then we got fast tracked because it's supposed to take weeks and weeks and weeks. It only took about 10 days. And then, so she's supposed to get me clients. Well, here we are. I just completed my 3rd week, and I still I don't have a single client.
And you have to have so many hours.
40 hours.
By
And
which
so in 7 more weeks. I have 7 more weeks of class. So that's rough to try and make all that happen. Now, there is possibilities. That's another story. But what was fascinating is that this woman's so excited about having me and all this kind of stuff. And then she told me today, she goes, no, Vinny, I'm going to get you those hours. Make sure you get those hours. And then she told me, so I have 3 clients today, and I'm allowed to sit in on clients. And as long as I get to participate, then that's counted as direct contact hours. I can't just observe.
Okay.
But if I can interact a bit,
Yeah.
then it's considered direct contact hours. So I texted her or emailed her, said, okay, here's my Zoom link so you can hook me up and stuff. No answer.
Oh,
texted her
crud.
again. I texted her, left her a voicemail, did all this stuff. Nothing. Oh, by the way, today we're supposed to have a 2-hour meeting, and that's also something I'm required to do besides the 40 hours of contact. No meeting. She didn't show, didn't do anything. And then somewhere around 1 o'clock this afternoon, she finally calls me up, and she says, Benny, I feel really bad about what's going on. And she goes, I want to pay for your quarter.
Oh.
I want to pay for this quarter because basically she's concerned that I'm not going to be able to. You're not going to,
so you have to redo it or something?
Yeah, so I'm going to have to redo it. So I called my professor, and basically I don't know if that's going to work because that's called a dual relationship, because all of a sudden she becomes my benefactor as well as my boss, and really we don't want that. We want her just to be my boss.
Sure.
And so because that could be weird.
Sure.
But I talked to my prof and said, well, what about you asking her to pay me for my direct contact hours? Because if she's willing to do that, that would be for a whole year instead of just for this quarter. And she goes, oh, that's a really, really good idea. So that would be huge, because if she could do that, regardless of whether or not I could get it, it could mean that my other job, I could reduce a lot of hours, because then I could just I could just get more and more clients, because I'd be making money with those clients. So, because by the way, if you didn't get this, internship is normally for free. So
of course.
You do it
Most
for free.
internships are.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So that would be really cool.
Yeah.
If I could get paid.
Yeah.
That would be really cool, because I'd be getting paid to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
So at least in that class. So I
Yeah.
still have other classes. So
Well,
that is
that's-
kind of good news, right?
Yeah,
It's
I
not a
think
done
that is.
deal, but
Right.
but it is kind of good. So I am going to share it. So what in the world? So guidepost number 1. Do you remember guidepost number 1? You can probably find it faster. Can you find it faster? No, you can't find it faster.
I don't know, because remember there's like
Guidepost number 1 is cultivating authenticity, letting go of what people think. So we talked
There it
about,
is.
letting go of what people think. And for me, that had a lot to do with my job and just feeling like, feeling stuck. So
Guidepost number 2 was cultivating self-compassion, letting go of perfectionism.
yeah. So everybody struggles, and we talked
Which-
about how perfect you try to be, and then you completely fail over and over and over again. I'm just kidding.
Well, guidepost number 3 is cultivating a resilient spirit, letting go of numbing and powerlessness.
So that brings it up. So normally I have probably a whiskey every day. And I would say I don't do it for numbing purposes. I just like to have a whiskey. So I usually have a whiskey.
But it was funny. I walked in and
Well, that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
is that when I normally have a cigar when I walk around the block with my dog, and that's like my 2 things that I just really enjoy doing. It's just total chill. It has nothing to do with numbing.
So it was funny because he walked in. He goes, "I had a really bad day, so I'm going to make a whiskey."
I'm gonna make a whiskey
And so-
during the podcast, and she goes, "Do you remember guidepost number 3?" And I'm like, "Oh crap!" Because literally, it's
it's funny. We've talked about this on previous podcasts, and this is going to lead right into our guidepost for the week. But that's when I do not drink. If there's something that I feel like I have to numb. Like, I know that there's a lot of people like, oh my God, I had a really bad day, I need a drink. And and maybe that isn't as numbing as it is like when you really need to feel something in terms of like a big thing in your life that you're just like, I don't want to feel this anymore. Like, for an example, like in the guidepost, she talks about it doesn't have to be alcohol that you're
No.
numbing yourself with. There's many things. And I think about back in my marriage that to my ex, I used to clean like you guys remember, right? I used to clean incessantly. And if I wasn't cleaning, I was exercising. If I
Yeah.
wasn't exercising, I had like Debbie and the girls over, and we were always playing. Like, our kids would play with her
Busyness
kids and
then.
stuff. Busyness. And then so as I'm reading this guidepost, I was like, that was my source of numbing, because I
Yeah.
used to vacuum my
I remember
carpets
you
twice a
vacuum-
day.
Yeah, you were
like, I
nutcase.
was constantly.
And you were like, yeah, because you had wee little ones, and so you were constantly cleaning it.
I just didn't. When I think back, I'm like,
Patty and I, on the other hand, did the other thing. We just allowed critters to live, and we just brought them pillows and blankets. Yeah.
No,
so-
I just didn't. I realize now that that was part of numbing because I didn't want to feel what was actually going on.
Yeah. So here's the thing: is that our kids are talking. They like my critters thing.
I didn't. I thought you were calling me a critter.
No, I was talking about the critters, the little thingamajiggies. Here's the thing that's interesting is that for me now, I kind of was joking. I was joking when I said that because I would have probably had some kind of whiskey anyway. But it is interesting because I do try to avoid drinking. I try to avoid any kind of vice if I feel like I'm numbing because I want to figure out how do I feel better about it. But I'm not. I wouldn't say. My worst vice by far, 100% that I fail at on a regular basis is food. So, because and another thing that's fascinating is when I'm doing work, and I get stressed out. I remember and I would get stressed about certain events, and I really believed that I was taking care of myself and I was really handling it well. And ironically, some people know, but I have an addiction that I go to a 12-step program for that I've worked through, and I'm 8 years sober.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This month. But I didn't even think of that as an addiction. I didn't even think I really never understood
food is
my
definitely an addiction for many
unmanageability.
people,
Well, and
yeah.
that wasn't the thing, but it was a process addiction like food.
And
So, but the thing is that the thing for me was that I did numb out, but I didn't consider what I was doing, just like you were talking, as numbing out.
Yeah.
I considered it just like, this is what I do. I struggle with this. This is really hard or whatever. And so I never thought of it as like numbing out. I really thought of it as just, this is what I do. Well, now that I don't have this, and I try to avoid eating poorly, and I try to deal with, I do have alcohol, but I don't drink it because I'm trying to cover something up. I drink it because I like it. So, and I don't drink tons of it. So normally.
right.
So yeah, I have videos of me drinking too much. So,
Well, I think I think she had a good point in the book talking about when we numb the dark, we numb the light. So you can't numb. And, and I'm thinking about people out there that are listening to this that are thinking, well, yeah, there's many nights that I say I've had a really bad day and I'm going to have wine. I'm going to drink a
Right.
bottle of wine or whatever.
or a good Christian way to do it is I'm going to go on Amazon and I'm going to go buy something.
Yeah,
That
I mean,
is
there's
absolutely necessary.
definitely many things people go shop because, whatever. But
And I say the shopping thing. Why I bring that up is I think there's some like addictions, there's some ways of numbing that are acceptable and people don't even recognize it
Yeah.
as an addiction. So
what do they call it?
exercise,
They
for
call it
instance.
shopping therapy or whatever they call it. I can't even think of it, but retail
therapy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so there is many vices that people don't realize are vices because it's not like drugs or alcohol or
Well, and
whatever.
I hate to say this, I worked in the church for a long time. I think many people took church as a vice.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is I'm not referring to God because I don't God is God. But I mean, they were so committed to the church and doing things for the church and doing. And what they were really doing was numbing up or covering up some area that they felt weak in or hurt or
100%.
whatever. And then they would just focus in on service at the church. And what's hard about it is it's good stuff that
Yeah.
they're doing.
Yeah.
And just
So
like
you
you
don't
said
wanna look at it,
earlier,
yeah.
exercise. Well, exercising is good.
Yeah.
But it definitely could be a numbing agent. It could be a way to numb yourself up. For me, I think the big thing was that because I used to what I did, and it's fascinating that you said about covering up the joy, is that when I got sober and all of a sudden I started living a different life, I became so much more present with my family. And I think this is fair to say they're here right now, but I'm more present than I used to be. That's not to say that I don't look at Instagram on the phone sometimes when I probably shouldn't. But
Well,
I'm-
your mind is now in time because I mean, and I'm going back to when I said I used to clean the house incessantly. And then if I didn't clean the house, then I was walking on my Stairmaster. And then I was, I was always busy. I was always trying to keep something going because I didn't want an idle mind. I did not want to think about what was really going on, what was really happening. But when you step out of it, when you finally step out of it, you end up having a clearer mind and you can see things from a whole perspective versus this little shallow, tiny tunnel type of thing.
Well, and you start to, well, for me, in my case at least, I started to identify things in my own life that I had no idea were there. I was covering up so much stuff over and over and over and over again. I think there were some really good things. I always think it's fascinating. I think it's interesting because you could throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? And I think I did a lot of good things when I was with the church. I think there were some real positive things and still and things that I think people would say this really made a difference in my life. And then at the same time, I think I missed out on so much, not just with my family, but with other people in terms of relating and connecting, because I was like, if you consider the onion, you know, I was at the root of, I was in the middle, and it was all these layers that had to be peeled out. And every single time I'd use my numbing agent, I was covering up the Benny. I was covering up my real self. And that's why I think we talked about this a few weeks ago or a few podcasts ago, but I'm different now. I'm different. And yet, in a lot of ways, I'm the same. I'm exactly the same. It's just that I'm more me than I was, and I'm able to be that person. And I'm not saying that I don't care what people think, because, you know, Guidepost 1 talks about that whole idea of, you know, trying to belong. And I still think I try to do that at times, but at a very different level than I used to. Because when I was covering myself up and numbing up, yeah, you definitely can't feel it. And I do love what you said about the fact that you don't experience joy in the same way, because when you're numbing up, that onion is there for good and bad times. So it's great during stress, because when you're during stress, you just keep numbing up. Well, you don't feel the stress. You don't recognize it because you're
but it's
using
covering up all emotions.
But all of a sudden now, when you get the really cool thing, you don't get to celebrate it the same way because the onion is still there. Yeah.
Well, also in the book, she talks about critical awareness, which I found fascinating, because you there's things that just came out to me when I was reading it. Like, she talked about just like well, anyway, I have a note here that says Photoshop world. And so there's things that for me, I am actually very critical of myself for certain things, you know, and I will point things out, and Peter will always go, why are you pointing it out? You're beautiful. Why are you? Because it's very true. Like, you look, parts of this that I read is where, you know, I kind of related to, and I actually don't even know if this is exactly where she was going with it, but this is what I picked up on it. Like, because she mentions Photoshop and stuff. And I'm thinking, you know, you look at like Instagram or you look at magazines and you think, well, this woman is 55. You know, I'm like 58. This woman's 60. How come she can stand there in the bathing suit and she has not one stretch mark? How come I have stretch marks? Do you know what I mean? Like, why?
I know why I have stretch marks.
I'm just saying, like, I'm looking at a picture. I'm looking at somebody who probably put her filter on. And this is not to say that there aren't people in the world without stretch marks. I'm just saying that I am comparing myself to somebody in a photo that I don't even know. I have no idea if they've gotten, or, you know, you look at the face and I see the lines on my face. I'm very critical about wearing bangs because that's my Botox, so to speak, because I don't want to actually get Botox. So I cover the lines on my face. And you see people that can wear their hair back and they don't have the lines on their face. Well, maybe they have gotten Botox. Maybe they haven't. But I'm just saying, when you people.
So here's the thing that I'm going to go out. So I get what you're saying, because clearly what's happening in the world today is that we see, and what's generated online and certainly in Instagram and all that is the best. Everybody's showing the best of themselves. So when they show the best of themselves and then we try to compare ourselves to that, it's just stupid. So because even they don't look like that, and that's why it's really bizarre. Like, I think Jamie Lee Curtis, I think she was one of the first people to ever like show herself without makeup, without being in a bathing suit. I don't remember if she was in a bathing suit.
She has a bathing suit on in one of her shows, one of the movies. I think it's Christmas with the Cranks, because they were going to go on a trip. Anyway, it's a lot. If you haven't seen Christmas with the Cranks, it's kind of funny. But anyway, they were going to go on a trip because their daughter was out of town. So they're like, let's just not have Christmas. Let's go on an island. And she actually showed herself in a bathing suit in this movie, and she's not perfect. But you know what? It was so refreshing.
Yeah, right.
It really was.
Well, and
she's
she-
not bad looking by any means. I'm just
No,
saying
she's
that
like 175 years old, isn't she? I mean, she's
she looks really good for 175.
no, but she's pretty old and she's still beautiful. But the thing that she did was she started to say, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna promote this fake person. I am who I am, and that's all there is to it. The therapist that comes out of me says to you, why do you even worry about comparing yourself to the Photoshop person? Why not just say, I am who I am. I don't care that they can see it.
Meaning that you want me to put myself in a bathing suit with a stretch marks out
Yes,
there?
in this show. We're on YouTube, folks.
You know what the thing is like, okay, I did that comparison thing and I will talk myself out of it to date. Like
Okay.
I will definitely go, why am I comparing myself to this person? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't even make sense. But there is the other side of me that like, you know, I'll put a bathing suit on and if you can see my stretch marks, I will find a way to either wear
Hide
a
them.
wrap or a different bathing suit bottom or whatever, because I'm just not comfortable. It really isn't about, oh my God, what will somebody think about me? Like it's really not there. It's more like I'm uncomfortable to show it. Like I applaud people that are fine. I saw somebody post a picture not too long ago and she said she's proud of her you know, stretch marks because of her, you know, her kids gave them to her. And she doesn't look bad. Like I would never look at her and go, oh my God, she's in a bathing suit with her stretch marks. I personally just don't feel comfortable. That's really
well,
it.
and for me too. I mean, I have to say that you know there are times when I'm in better shape. What's funny is I'm always in very, very good shape under the fat. So,
Yeah.
If I could just get rid of the fat, I'm in great shape. So I have a 6-pack. I have a 6-pack. You just can't see it.
You have a keg right now.
Yeah. So the thing for me is that I have the same thing about the way I look and wonder about shirts and stuff like that. But it's at a different level, I think, for guys than it is for girls because we can hide a whole bunch of stuff. But I do know that I started doing with one of our listeners, actually, I do what's that thing called, Patty? Marco Polo, the Marco Polo thing. And it's funny because sometimes I'll be sitting there and I'll like lean or I'll look. And then all of a sudden I get the quadruple chin going on and I'm like, ooh, I got to fix that. You know, it's like, it's a Marco Polo. It's going to a friend of mine, you know.
I don't even know what
Tamara.
the heck, Marco.
Shout out
I
to
play
her.
in a pool. I go, Marco. Somebody goes, Polo.
Well, that's exactly what it is. But
you guys
instead-
are in a pool?
Yes, we're both in a pool. No, what it is it's an app where you can video send something and then they can open it up anytime that they want to, and then they video send back. Texting through video.
okay.
Texting through video.
So you're doing that.
Video
and then,
chat,
And then
Patty's
when you
coming.
notice it, you say, oh, wow, look at my chin. Is
And
that
so
what
when I
you're saying?
notice it, I go, "Oh gosh, I shouldn't do that." And I'm thinking, "Why?" I
Right,
mean,
right,
I mean,
right.
first of all, who am I trying to impress?
Right,
And then
right.
the second thing is that it's just funny because that's the immediate thing is because I think we all have images of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing as listening to this podcast. It's weird for me to hear my voice.
Yeah.
Because it's like, seriously,
not
that's
how
what
I
you guys
sound.
listen.
Yeah.
That's what you guys hear. It's like that's
Yeah.
not right.
Yeah.
So nobody should have to hear that.
Yeah. But I really did like this particular point. I did like the part of just critical awareness in general because there's questions that she asks you to ask yourself, and it really helps you put things in perspective and keep in check, right?
Go for it.
Oh, you want me to read the questions?
Yeah. Of
Oh, the
course.
questions
you can't
are,
tease it and then go
is
not say anything.
the questions she says asks are: is what I'm seeing real? Do these images convey real life or fantasy? The second question is: do these images reflect healthy, wholehearted living, or do they turn my life, my body, my family, and my relationships into objects and commodities?
Look at that. See, I highlighted that.
Yeah.
Question.
And then the last question is: who benefits from me seeing these images and feeling bad about myself?
Oh my gosh! I just saw an Instagram tube of a tube. I just saw an Instagram tube. I don't know what you call them. I just saw an Instagram thingy where they were talking. A banker was talking about how banks work. It was a joke, but basically, it was fascinating because it was all about the fact that it's all about profit. you know, we are really trying to. I'm not
I
saying
didn't
that
get
we're
that though. Okay, so you're going to explain why it says, hint, this is always about money and our control.
because the reason why things are happening online and the reason why people do things online is because ultimately they want to monetize it. So that's what it's
I did
about.
kind of feel like that's
So-
what she
and,
was saying,
and if
but I
you're
was like, I'm
saying,
not
and
sure.
if you're saying, okay, what is the monetizing in some cases? Well, if I can increase my viewer, why in the world do some of these people? It's funny, but
I
why
hear
in the
ya.
world do these people look the way they do, and why do they do what they do? Because the more people that end up following them, the more money they could ultimately
Yeah.
make because they could do whatever.
Okay,
they do.
so you know,
The
it's funny
hashtag so-and-so.
because have you heard of Instagram Threads?
I think Threads is a Microsoft thing, isn't it?
It's a thing off Instagram. I'll show. Anyway,
yeah.
it doesn't matter. But anyway, so I went on Threads one day.
Threads? No. Threads is the Twitter of Instagram, of Facebook.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So I went on Threads one day because somebody goes, "Oh, you should go on Threads." So I went on Threads thinking, "Oh, is this going to be the new Instagram?" I don't know. I'll just be here. There was a countless fitness girls who said, "Follow me and I'll follow you." And it was like all this weird stuff. And I was like, I don't understand what Threads is though. Cause isn't it, am I not going to get information for these people? Is it just are we just doing this to get more likes and follows? Like I wasn't really
Yeah.
understand. I got 800 follows overnight. Follow me. And then I will follow you. Anyone that follows me, I'll follow you. And all of the pictures of these girls are in next to nothing clothing, posing in a gym very provocatively, if you will. So I'm thinking, well, why are people following them? Because if you look at their content,
It's
most
nothing.
of it's saying follow me.
Yeah.
And you're not offering any.
Well, think about half of the things. Facebook will say, "Do you see?" Like you'll see the picture, and it'll say, "Do you see?" I remember one. "Do you see the cat?"
Oh, right.
Well, what are they trying to do? They want you to
click,
comment because the
and then you
comment will say this and that and the other.
and
da,
it'll
da, da.
move on to-
So the point that she's making here, though, is that what people are ultimately trying to do is monetize. Now, I do believe that some people are trying to help. Some people are truly trying to help.
Oh, for sure.
And,
I agree.
but they're using the app to get more coaching or to get more people to follow them and perhaps purchase their whatever thing they're selling. So even though that they might really be trying to help, ultimately they're trying to also monetize this
Yeah.
thing. So that's, I think, what she's
Gotcha.
getting at is that the whole idea is that let's figure out if we can monetize
Well,
this
trust
thing.
me, if I put my bathing suit on, I'll lose followers.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, then you and I should do it together because I will boost your following. Everybody wants to see me in a bathing suit. I'll put a Speedo on. Okay. The thing that's interesting is that what I really enjoyed about the numbing portion, because of my own addiction and my own past, and even to this day, is the idea that we all do have our numbing the way we numb. And I think it's just that whole idea of numbing. And I think what's interesting is that you can walk into, if you're an alcoholic, everybody goes, "Ooh, that person's got the
Yeah.
addiction," and they can shout it from the rooftops actually, and everybody rejoices when they say that they are that they're healthy, you know, that they're sober, oh whatever.
You know what I found interesting too, though, is she connected through her studies. What does she call it?
Research.
Yeah, that spirituality was a commonality to a lot of the people, and she said it doesn't have to be, you know, God per se, or it doesn't have to be, you know, going to church or religion or whatever. There's many higher powers of spiritualism that you can believe in or feel, and I do, and I that resonated with me because it's always like at the point where you feel like, you know, you're at. I mean, you can come out of that vice if you do have a higher power that you can connect with. And I don't know, that's just me. I'm being very spiritual right now because I do believe in God, but I do talk to God on a daily basis, whether it be thank you for the day or I'm coming to you with this. But
Peter, for years said he was an atheist. And it's, you know, I don't think you're there right now. Is that a fair statement? Yeah.
he's
So
not
that's a
there
fair
at all
statement.
anymore.
Yeah. So the thing that's interesting to me is that I find that for most people that I encounter that are atheists, the reason why they're atheists really has to do with Christians or people that are God followers and then also trying to understand bad and why does bad exist
Mm-hmm.
if there is a loving God. And so there's a lot of questions in terms of,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of agnostics too.
Yes.
People who
Well, I
are
went
like-
through that phase, and keep your point because I want to hear what you're going to finish saying. But I went through that phase after my divorce with Rob. I was definitely, I went from a very, very, very Christian life to, I don't even know if there's a God because I don't know why God would allow me to go through all this. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Right.
But I got out of that phase. But I'm just saying, like, there's, yeah. Anyway,
Well, the thing for me, and I think where Brene talks about and where I'm at is that I'm I definitely have a faith in God. I have a faith in something greater than me, and if for no other reason, it's because I can't do this alone.
Exactly.
I just can't do this alone.
doesn't it just
I
make
can't-
you feel better to like?
It does.
know
It gives
that
me
you
comfort,
can-
and I will
yeah.
confess to you that people like, what's the dude that started the English office? What's his name? The guy that just started the English office. The
I
whole
don't
office.
know his name. Yeah, I don't know his name, but I know you're talking about.
Gervais.
There you go.
Yeah. What's his name? Ricky Gervais. So he's a total full-blown atheist. And it's interesting because I hear him and I understand exactly why he's saying what he's saying, because we that are spiritual sound foolish at times, to be honest with you. What I really hate is spiritual people who try to prove God's existence. And the reason why I hate that is because if we can understand God, then he's not a very big God. And that's the whole point.
Yes.
Is that he's so much bigger than me that I don't get it.
It's hard to understand.
Yeah,
even if you
we
believe in
shouldn't
him.
be.
Yeah.
If I can totally understand him, if I can explain him to you, if I can prove that he exists, then he's not very big.
yeah.
He's not. Then what's the point?
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't make any sense. And I'm fascinated by the fact that people spend time trying to explain that, and they think it's important that we defend our faith and all that. And I'm thinking faith is by definition something you can't figure out.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think it's fascinating to me that people do that. But why I'm bringing this up is, for me, faith has to do with the fact that I there is something greater out there. There's got to be some kind of purpose to this whole thing. And for me, I'll never forget, and I think I brought this up once, that Mom, I remember sending our kids, or our Ashley, she was our older one. So the first time we had to send her out where she was going to go out to do something on her own. And I remember being nervous, like thinking, and I remember talking to Mom about it. I said, it's weird to send your kid out to places. I go, what did you do?
I know,
Especially,
she just prayed.
yeah. I said, and she goes, well, I just prayed.
Yeah.
And I thought, I was a pastor.
Talk about a woman that has faith, though.
Yeah.
Like this,
This is before phones and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. I mean, we went on a bike
Oh,
ride
yeah.
after
Oh,
school, and I didn't come home until night.
Yeah.
And she was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
And yet, it's not that she didn't care, but
Mm-hmm.
she just had faith. And now people will say, well, that was a different age and da-da-da-da. Well, I don't think so, because I think the people are the same.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth, and what I mean by that is our insecurities and
Mm-hmm.
our desire to be in control. That's the big thing that it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
Is I think one of the reasons why people struggle with spirituality is because they really want to be in control.
Yeah.
They want to control everything.
Yeah.
And
Because
so-
it's not a tangible thing. So it's
No.
very hard if you can't. Yeah. But it's such a good feeling for me. You know, I'm going to speak. It's just such a good feeling for me when I, I mean, there's just many things that I have, literally prayed about and just said, I'm just putting this out there, and then just feel like this sense of peace afterwards. And I know that in my mind, in my heart, I'm not alone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that you're not alone, that you're with people, and that you feel like there's more to. It's like there's more to this.
Yeah, but the point that I was bringing up, and I'm sorry, I just wanted to say for people listening, this isn't about God. This isn't about a religion. Like she's talking about. In fact, some of the people that she did in her research did not believe in God. It was they just did have a spirituality, and
Right.
so with whatever, and
It's a very
and
12-step
that was
program thing.
Yeah, and that was their commonality in how they were able to get to the place of not having what's our term?
Well, the idea of being the idea of there being,
Numbing and being powerless.
right? Because I
Yes.
think that's the key thing, is that we are when we start feeling insecure, when we start doing the things that are living in this perfectionism, when we start doing all that crud, the next thing that we start to do is, if we don't have anything else to lean on, this is what we lean on. We lean on the crutch, which is going to be the, and see, this is the thing. It's weird. I think most people would say, well, no, I don't drink. But then, okay, well, what do you do? Because you have to do something to cover up that pain. You have to do something to cover up this insecurity. You have to do something. And her idea is what she recognized from her research is they depended on something greater than themselves.
And that's where I feel like I tend to go and clean
rather than doing something
and clean
and clean. So while I'm cleaning, well, cheers. No, oh, sorry. Sorry. I'm drinking. I'm sorry. But yeah. Anywho, I hope that this was helpful. Guidepost number 3, we'll repeat it one more time. And I encourage you guys to read the book. Next week, we'll be doing guidepost number 4, but guidepost number 3 is going to come up anytime now because this book is not that big. Okay, cultivating a resilient spirit, letting go of numbing and powerlessness. And so we encourage you guys to read along with us and join us. So thank you, Valerie.
Thank you. And also, I liked the AEIOUY. Sorry that you wanted to
So we're going to
end
digress. Go ahead and say the AEIOU because I liked it too.
She says a dig deep thing. She has a dig deep and get inspired and all this stuff. But she talks about the vowel check. And so A, have I been abstinent today? However you define that, it's more challenging to define abstinence when it comes to things like food, work, the computer. But process of defining it means what it means to you.
So to be clear, abstinent means whatever the numbing agent is that you're doing. She's saying, have you refrained from depending on that?
Depending on that, yes. And then E is, have I exercised today? E is the exercised. What have I done for myself today?
Self-care.
O, what have I done for others today?
Yeah, what have you done for me?
Lately.
Lately.
What have you done for me lately? You, am I holding on to unexpressed emotions today?
Are you?
Unexpressed. That's a good one. You should express them. And why? Yay! What is something? What is something that's good that happened today?
We're in kindergarten class.
That's a really good thing. I'm going to put that on my refrigerator, but I don't like to put things on my refrigerator, so I won't put that on there. But I like the AEIOU.
No,
check.
it is the AEIOU thing, and gratitude is basically what the yay is.
Yes,
and
for sure.
So
yes.
I think the gratitude thing is life changing.
Yeah, for sure.
That's another thing. I'm glad you said it. AEIOU, folks, just Google it if you don't want to read the book because I bet you it'll pop up.
Yeah. Well,
Valerie
thank you for
Lynn,
being here.
I'm glad I came too. Oh, you're referring to the listener.
Yes.
Okay, guys, we are glad that you guys are with us. I'm at Benny Gonzalez on Instagram, so we'd love to hear from you. And actually, we haven't said this in a while. I forget. Please, oh please, like us on and subscribe on Spotify as well as YouTube. You can watch us on YouTube. Valerie will actually show you her stretch marks.
I will be in a bathing suit next week. No, just
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
No, we're going to put Iggy in a bathing suit. Iggy will be in a bathing suit. No. Okay.
All right, you guys, thanks for being here. I'm at a Daily Dose of Cocoa.
Yeah, and I'm at Benny Gonzalez, and we are super glad that you are listening and following along. Next week, guidepost number 4.
All right. Looking forward.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Ciao.